where the world has not yet been captured by language. We sit in that place and indulge in delaying the determination of meaning. It is not laziness. Rather, it is the nobility of affirming with one's whole being the choice not to choose. It is something that relies on blurred emotions and yet remains unwavering. Unmovable and undefined go hand in a strange way. Light as steel in the midst of ambiguity. We do not nod, we do not deny, we simply resonate with each other. The world is always clamoring for clarity, but there is something impatient in that cry. Clarity of answer is a protective armor woven from fear. To depend on ambiguity, like the universe floating accidentally in a coffee swirl, is to enjoy the shaking, to love the undecided, to know oneself rather more deeply in the midst of ambiguity. It is like the wind that blows between the clouds, not rushing, not fighting, but surely passing by. This comfortable ebullience is entrusted to the cradle of ambiguity and touches the world not with certainty, but with generosity. I sit down with a falconry on the cliff of decisiveness that is slowly disintegrating. Already traced with a watery pencil, the maybe summons the so be it. A technique that wraps thoughts in a silken mesh rather than a razor's edge. A premonition that goes beyond the murky is an attitude that loves the multi-layered nature of the ashes between black and white. I am tired of such precision. I surrender to maybe and or in a distillation of language that is like threading a needle and play with the perspective of meaning. In the first place, truth is not a static structure, but a dynamic device like a curtain rustling in a faint breeze. Certainty piles up stones, but ambiguity can read the wind. We walk not on a map, but on a weather map. In the era that resides in words, it is not the courage to say I don't know, but the maturity to embrace uncertainty that finds security. Hawkishness is a kind of grace, a gaze toward generation rather than completion. Time to dip one's fingers into the temperature of ambiguity and listen to the sound of the undefined. The mind flaps its wings in the certainty of the indefinite, and the edge of the sky is touched by the tips of the wings. This eagle-eyed comfort, which echoes like a minute note lost in the wind, is buried in quiet certainty, and the footing that drifts in the deposited clouds is already uncertain. Somehow it is comforting because it does not cling to freedom, but wraps itself in the uncertain dream of a world where everything is shaking. It dances in a hawkish mind that is dependent but not dependent. Not a step out of place, not a step too far, just as if loving the ambiguous and leaning into that ambiguity. Both a clear goal and a definite answer disappear like smoke. We surrender to the undefined void of abandonment and breathe in the grace of obscurity. By not firing the arrow of decision, I have earned the feather of contradiction. Certainty stiffens, one smile away. The attitude of surrendering to uncertainty, which is neither haughty nor condescending, it is called hawkishness, the art of blurring the contours of the inner order. The margins are deepened by choosing not to choose and by not declaring. Clarity is sometimes violent, ambiguity lets me off the hook. Dependent on the unclear, indulging in its tenderness, I eventually bloom without contours. As a clearly indistinct being, I flutter softly into the generous uncertainty of this world. Like a morning mist, definition sleeps in the womb of the unborn. We surrender ourselves to the amniotic fluid of ambiguity and drift on the soft sea of uncertainty, escaping from the thorns in the name of solid truth. The deep sigh of a soul freed from the yoke of knowledge. Drifting there is a sense of resignation akin to relief. It is a great affirmation that existence is permitted without grasping everything, without judging everything. Words are cages, concepts are fetters. Escape from bondage and see the illusion of gradations of meaning. This fluctuation is the playground of the spirit and the fertile ground of creation. Clear chaos exposes the barren ground. Eyes that tolerate the shadows of truth that waver beyond the haze with the uncertainty of all phenomena. A margin that does not like the absolution of black and white, but loves the subtleties of shadows and shadows. It is not a hotbed of laziness. Rather, it is an expression of the most sincere reverence for the complex and bizarre aspects of all things in the universe. Like a hawk soaring across the sky, it is a daring distance to fly away from the ground battle of trivial definitions and to gain a bird's-eye view of the whole. The comfort of leaving oneself in ambiguity. It is the privilege of those who do not pursue the mirage of perfection. It is the supreme prescription for us imperfect people to reconcile with the imperfect world. Dependence is not a sign of vulnerability.